Hi, Bianca. Welcome, and thank you so much for sitting down with me today. Can you tell us a little bit about you and your role at Brandsmiths?
Yes, so I am currently the head of commercial and corporate. So our team looks after lots of different businesses, all on the commercial side. So we're not litigators, which I think lots of people think lawyers are just there when things go wrong. But we're actually here to help like protect and grow your business. And we actually um, really integrate ourselves with businesses so to enable them to grow. So yeah, I have quite a small team of four. There's four of us.
Four people in your team,
Yeah.
and how long have you been here?
I've been here for 4 years now.
Okay.
So just growing the commercial and corporate practice because we started off as an IP litigation boutique. So yeah, it's going really well. We've got lots of clients and we're expanding now out into Manchester. We've got someone joining us in January. So yeah, exciting times.
And how did you get into law?
I think I, like everyone else, watched lots of films and thought it looked very glamorous. And it's not quite how it seems. But yeah, I think I just had that kind of sense of like justice. And I had watched lots of like kind of courtroom films, and I thought, wow, that looks really interesting. So I studied law, and which I absolutely loved. I loved studying law. It's so amazing, so interesting. I actually wanted to be a barrister for a while, so I did some work in the Stratford Magistrates Court, which was quite interesting.
Eye-opening.
Yeah, very eye-opening. But yeah, I ended up getting a training contract in a city firm in London, so very corporate kind of focused. And I just found that I really enjoyed that. I really enjoyed being part of a business, kind of growing them, being part of the kind of goals of a business, and working across like lots of different sectors. And then I was in-house at ITV because I really enjoyed like film and TV and was really interested about how kind of the law worked in practice in media. And then I went to Discovery Channel, which is now Warner Brothers. So it's kind of similar, but just a bit more global. And yeah, now I'm here back into private practice.
And what I think is amazing about Brandsmith is it's a much more boutique style firm. How did you find that step from moving from ITV and the big corporations to into a smaller firm like this?
Yeah, it was a huge change for me. I came in and I was like, what's happened? It's like work, it was almost like working at a startup. And actually, we're moving from boutique now into mid-size. So I've really seen the growth trajectory from that kind of boutique firm.
Yeah.
It's very different, but I really love it. It's definitely a different way of working from the huge corporate law firms. But I think that's where our kind of USP is. And I think it really helps us with our clients and the way that we kind of give our advice. We're really different, I think, from, so I trained at a big city law firm.
Yeah.
And I think the way that we work here is much better for clients. And yeah, we just have like such a lovely team, and we're still quite small. So we build really good relationships with each other.
Great. And you spoke earlier about how you integrate with businesses that you're working with. Can you tell us a little bit about the types of companies that you work with and who and the work that you're doing?
Yeah, so we work across all sectors. I think that's the most interesting and exciting thing about working in the commercial department, because it's advisory, but also we're doing contracts, and we'll do any type of contract. So your distribution contract, supplier services agreement, from setting up your company, your shareholders agreement. So we can work for anyone, which I really love, and we have a real wide variety of clients. We do have a strong focus on media because of my background, but also like fashion, sports, and entertainment. So we have lots of kind of SMEs. We've got Here We Flow, who's a period product company. We've just recently done their sponsorship agreement with the Chelsea Women's Football Club.
Nice.
So that was such a great thing to be involved in, and that was back of short sponsor because they're a female period product brand.
Yeah.
But we also act for talent agents. So we've got YMU's, one of the world's leading talent agencies. I'm also doing something with my client who makes aeroplane seats. So doing some of their big deals with airlines. So it's a really broad range of clients that we act for.
And I know from my own experience when I launched my company, it's very daunting when you're having to think about the legals and what you need to have in place, and you don't really know where to start. For anyone who's watching this, what sort of founder is your kind of ideal customer, and who would you want should be approaching Brandsmiths for their help?
Yeah, look, I think it's really difficult. And I think you and I have spoken about this before, but kind of when you're just starting off, you don't have any money and you don't really want to kind of spend that on legals. You've got 1,000 other things to pay for. So probably someone that's like a little bit more developed, maybe about to get investment. But equally, I think it's really important to get the foundations right from the beginning, because what we do end up doing is cleaning up a lot of that mess. But that's kind of balanced against how much money you've actually got to spend. So I think spend it wisely. And I think spend it on kind of getting your shareholders agreement right from the get-go is really, really important. Maybe that over your services contracts to start with, to begin with. So look, I think obviously people start businesses all the time without legal, but I think when you're kind of looking to grow and there's more money at stake, it's really important that you get that looked at by one of us.
Yeah, and you touched on there the shareholders agreement. Can you tell us a little bit about that and why that's so important?
It's something that governs the kind of relationship between the shareholders at the outset, and it can have your kind of founders' rights, veto rights, what happens on an exit. And so I think whilst at the beginning everything's really exciting and everyone's getting along and you're starting a new business together, later on down the line it's when we need to make sure that those kind of protections are in place, because if they're not, the founders particularly can run into trouble.
And you mentioned earlier about how you're working with all sorts of businesses and lots of different founders. Do you think there's any traits that those businesses or founders have that make them successful?
Yeah, I think that kind of relentlessness in business, I see with our clients, and they kind of really always kind of pushing forward onto the next thing. I think the most successful businesses I see and like the best people to work for is when they're involved in something they're really passionate about or they believe in. So all of our clients, are kind of similar in a way with that, the traits of making their business successful. But I think one thing they all have in common is that they all kind of really love what they do and they're really good at it. So that's really quite inspiring.
What, if you could say one thing to a founder who's wondering about IP and its importance, what would it be?
I think, look, it depends what your business is now. And like I've said, we act for lots of different companies, but really at the heart of every business that we see now is the IP, and that's usually the most valuable asset of any business across the board. Like a fashion business, that's relatively obvious. But even Here We Flow, for example, I keep going back to them, but their branding, obviously they sell a product, but the branding is the most important and holds the most power. So I think you really need to protect it. And we're here to protect it, but also exploit it. And so, we can help businesses move into different markets, different territories. And kind of when you're doing that, you definitely need somebody to come in, and whether it's franchising or licensing. So I think that taking legal advice in that way can step up the business and help it grow in a way that maybe founders would think that wasn't available to them.
Yeah. We were speaking earlier about your daughter, Pandora. What advice would you give to anyone that, you've climbed the career ladder, you've become a partner here? How have you kind of managed that juggle of having a young baby and, coming back to work and working in this full environment?
Yeah, it's quite tough. It's definitely a balancing act. I think by the time I get here at like 9:20, I've lived a whole life already. I just have to be really organised, and I wasn't before, so it's definitely doable. I just kind of make sure that when I'm here, everything that I do really counts. And then I do work in the evenings. I try and like get really prepared for the next day. So it is a balance, but I absolutely love it. It's great. It's wild and crazy, but I think you just have to make sure that when you're in the office or you're working, you're kind of doing everything to push your career forward. But when I'm with my daughter, I don't work. I'm not like distracted mum. So then if I've got work to do, I'll put her to bed and then finish off. But I love that. It means that I get all that time with her, and then when I'm working, I'm actually focused on work.
Yeah, and also I think it's important for children to see that, you know, parents have to work and go out to work.
Yeah, and I always like make sure I drop her off and pick her up, and she's like, "Mummy's running for the train," because I'm always running. I run everywhere as well. I run for the train, run to a meeting, but yeah, it's all worth it.
Running everywhere, and I'm on a Lime bike.
Yeah, you're on the Lime bike. She bumped into you on a Lime bike.
Yeah, exactly. I'm always bumping into people on Lime bikes. I'm like, oh my God.
I was Frankie.
Okay, couple more questions from me, but what was it? If you had £1,000 and you were going to start a business today, what would you do with that money?
Oh wow, wow!
Just popping you on the spot.
What would I do with it? I'd probably hire a videographer and do something online. I feel like people are creating these amazing businesses online, and I'm a lawyer, obviously, something totally different.
Yeah.
That's what I do. And maybe a social media manager for a day and then get loads of content and then roll it out. I don't know what it would be. I mean, maybe I could do that, do some legal content.
You mentioned earlier about how you also provide like advisory services and in-house counsel. Can you tell me a little bit more about that?
Yeah, so I think this is where we really set ourselves apart, because lots of our clients actually don't have any legal, any in-house legal. So we come in, we bring the clients on retainer, and we get to know their businesses really well. And we essentially work for a day a week for a company. And this works really, really well for us and them because we get to know their business really well. We know exactly kind of what their risk appetite is and where they want to grow and where they need our support. And also it's quite cost effective. So it's almost like a fractional general counsel or a fractional lawyer.
Yeah.
I don't really know any other law firms that are offering this service, and everyone in my team has had in-house experience.
Okay.
So we really understand kind of how businesses work and how they want to receive legal advice. So, you know, lots of my clients will WhatsApp me. They'll send me kind of photos of a contract, and you know, so they really feel like I'm part of the team, as if I'm an employee.
Yeah.
And I think, you know, that's the best feedback that we get for the team.
Yeah.
From our clients and businesses and you know, founders that just need some quick advice and they don't want to pay thousands of pounds for it. They don't want to have to kind of go through everything, the quoting. So they just can call me up. They can say, I've just come out of this meeting. Can we do this? And we can give that really quick, agile advice.
And have you found, you know, for your own experiences being in-house compared to then working within the firm, does it make you see the advice that you're giving in a different way?
Oh yeah, I think one of my team members went on to comment, and she came back and she said, I now understand how you can talk to clients how you do, because it just gives you a different perspective. When you're working in a law firm, it's very different, particularly as a junior. You're just getting your instructions from a partner. You don't really understand kind of the business decisions around it. You just kind of do the legal work and then give it back. And I think that's one of the main complaints about lawyers, I think, that, you know, they give this advice to somebody and they don't know how to interpret it. And that's really difficult, I think, for someone starting a business. They're like, well, I've just paid all this money and it's given me some advice that's not very useful to me. Yeah. So when you're in-house, you're just sat at a desk and people are coming up to you all day asking you legal questions, and you just have to think commercially and on your feet. So yeah. You have to go, oh, well, you know, so I might give you some different advice than I'd give another client, because I think, well, what's your risk appetite? What are you looking to do? You know, I get to know the client so well that they'll say, you know, I'm like, yeah, go for it. Because I know the board of directors, and I know what we've done in the past, and where they want to kind of grow and make their money, essentially. So yeah, it changes you completely as a lawyer.
It's amazing how many industries are relationship led, and by being in, you're building those relationships, getting to know the businesses, then it changes the way that you can interpret the advice and everything that you're giving.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's just, as the law evolves and kind of technology and AI, I think it's really important, the relationship. And, you know, because somebody could probably go on AI and ask it a legal question and it could give you a very black and white answer. Yeah. But right now it can't apply it to the business or the kind of person. And it's always wrong, AI, on legal stuff. I mean, I think it's relatively good but it will get better. Yeah. And so it's really important, that relationship you have with the client, that they trust you and and they know that you're going to give them strategic commercial advice and not just
relevant to them.
yeah
Yeah.
yeah, and AI can't do that right now.
Yeah. Perfect. Thank you.